Today's political landscape is filled with misunderstandings. First of all, is there climate change happening or not is still being debated in Congress.
Global warming, which a lot of people think is a hoax. I don't know that it's man-made.
The earth will end only when God declares it's time to be over.
Political figures are still talking about what CRT is without ever defining it.
Critical race theory in education. It's a racist curriculum used to teach children that somehow their white skin is not equal to black skin.
Some lawmakers don't even know the difference between an assault rifle and a semi-automatic gun, and they conflate the two all the time.
Oh, look at me. I'm a big deal.
It's a rifle.
And it's not a rifle.
Yes, it's
Greg.
a rifle.
It is a machine.
What does AR stand for?
It is an automatic rifle.
But where does gender fall into this mix? This doesn't just seem to permeate through the halls of Congress. This is a part of every political pundit's repertoire, where they obfuscate around language, where they don't understand and seem to offer up definitions for words that they don't know quite how they used. So let's talk about it.
What we do in gender studies is not just reduce gender to what psychologists might call individual differences, but rather thinking about gender, and that's not women and man, but gender as a social form, something that kind of infuses itself into virtually all aspects of social life.
Let's talk about that then. I guess we should start with, we've got gender and sex, right?
Yeah.
What's the difference between the two? Is there a difference?
I saw that in your questions and I thought, my goodness, this is what we spend an entire semester kind of thinking through. But what we tend to think about in the social sciences today is that sex refers to a set of biological characteristics and gender is a social construct or category. What I think is often misleading about that characterization is allowed to be sort of messy and complicated. But in that framing, when you split them up into these wholly discrete constructs, studies scholars, and really more specifically people who study gender and sex, we're not talking about sexuality right now, in the kind of academic universe that I travel in, is that we see how deeply gendered ideas, cultural ideas about masculinity and femininity, maleness and femaleness, both in humans and in lots of other animals.
So are gender and sex two different things, or?
Well, Matt, are they two different things? Were you paying attention at all to what he said? Or did your brain do the same thing that your documentary did, which was fast forward and make it seem like what he said was nonsense and word salad? Wouldn't you expect a political pundit to do a little bit of research to understand the difference between sex and gender? It really isn't that hard. In one Google search, I managed to easily do it. According to the Yale School of Medicine, this is a distinction they make between gender and sex. In the study of human subjects, the term sex should be used as classification, generally male or female, according to the reproductive organs and functions that derive the chromosomal complement, generally XX for female and XY for male. And in the study of human subjects, the term gender should be used to refer to a person's self-representation as male or female, or how that person is responded to by social institutions on the basis of the individual's gender presentation.
The problem I have with the transgender argument is that people are arguing that there is no objective standard, that no objective standard exists by which I can determine sex. And in fact, sex is completely subjective. I can determine my own gender based on no biology and in fact in abeyance of biology. I can have every single biological characteristic of a male, and if I say I am female, then I am female.
For you who have been living under a rock, that's Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire's own darling personality. And he couldn't have taken the time to do what I did in a few seconds. But why do I think it's dishonesty? Why don't I think it's just people misunderstanding or not having the wherewithal to go and do a basic Google search? In our own little Pangburn Universe that we're a part of, I've had countless of conversations with people on the topic. One of them being our own Mace Starwalk.
So the question is, what is a woman, Mace?
A woman is an adult human female. That is my understanding of the word, and that is how I've observed the word being used by most people growing up. If it turned out that I misunderstood how this word was being used my whole life, then sure. But I haven't misunderstood. I'm not stupid. I know what people women, they mean an adult human female.
So, you know, when I first exited out of my religious phase, right, I would always say things like, oh, evolution is just a theory when I first learned about it. Because that's how people around me use the word theory. But as I grew up, I learned that theories, that's not what is meant when we use the word theory. And now in my head, I can make a compartment between when I speak to people colloquially and I use the word I have a theory or they say I have a theory versus when I engage in scientific jargon where I try to be very specific and detailed in my thinking. So in that same way, are you able to make that compartmentalization between those two things?
Trying to think if I've ever done that for any other words. Maybe this is the same issue I have with gender debate, but I don't understand what you mean when you say there's two different versions of theory. I thought there was only one.
Your argument isn't actually about the science or the philosophy. Your argument is about the rhetoric.
Yeah, I don't know of a word that specifically refers to that exists yet. Maybe it does. Maybe I just don't know about it.
Can we just, for this conversation, instead of calling it gender, we'll call it Genger? Are you okay with Genger?
Sure.
Okay. So do you recognize the distinction between Genger and sex? Yes. What do you think that looks like? What do you think makes someone the Genger of woman?
Well, I'd say what you're talking about there is the Genger of feminine, I guess.
Sure. Call it the Genger of feminine when they say that about themselves. It's those expectations, right? Usually people use the word woman when they say that, but we can use feminine if that makes you more comfortable.
Yeah, wow. I wasn't expecting this, Dan, but I feel like now that you've used the word Gengar, suddenly I understand you way better. I'm actually smiling like crazy right now because I've never understood it in this way before.
And even after that conversation, he goes out and continues to make videos like this.
Question for the internet. What is the difference between a trans woman and a man in disguise as a woman? Don't shoot the messenger, but there are only two genders.
And how do I know that he actually understood what we talked about? Well, he literally left comments in that same video. By the way, the full video is linked down below in the description. But he's literally said things like, when Dandan says gender, he always means Genger. If you translate it to that, it makes way more sense. And he's left comments replying to people saying this. When Dandan says sex, he's talking about males and females, which are objective and observable. When he says gender, he's referring to the Genger spectrum, which ranges from masculine to feminine and is subjective/cultural. Does this sound like someone who doesn't understand the topic? Who knows that there aren't just two genders? This is not just the way that I speak. This is how scientists speak. This is how the Yale School of Medicine speak. And yet, Mace keeps doing it, and these other political pundits keep doing it also.
If I see a chicken laying eggs and I say that's a female chicken laying eggs, did I assign female or am I just observing a physical reality that's happening in the world?
Does a chicken have gender identity? Does a chicken cry?
Well,
Does a chicken commit suicide?
Why? Are they just a part of some sort of ideological group, as Jordan Peterson likes to say? Or is it because they're trying to maintain what they believe? Because change and looking at the world through different perspectives is really difficult. Language is the perspective. Learning to adopt new languages isn't easy, but it's something that we should do. And Mace, if you're watching this video, I know you understand this subject very well because you do this with your voice. You have recognized that your voice wasn't manly enough and have changed it.
It shouldn't be illegal for a man to go into a woman's bathroom.
So, is it just me who feels like it's maybe a tiny bit suspicious?
Of course, if they do that, they should be aware that there will be social consequences for it. Women will give them dirty looks.
The God of the Bible wants to have a relationship with you after you've died, but not while you're alive.
They do that. I don't think it should be illegal.
So you see, you intuitively know that having a deeper voice makes one more of a man.
You must never go there, Simba.
But I thought a king can do whatever he wants.
Oh, there's more to being king than getting your way all the time.
Right? This is how it works. Gender, being what you're expected to do, how society expects males to be, to have a deeper voice, to be hardworking, to make money, and for females to be nurturing, loving, and caring. This is how gender roles are different than sex. And for us to assume that these words are synonymous.
Are we to suggest that gender and sex are different in walruses? How does this work exactly?
For us to not look it up, not do the research and adopt a new perspective to try to understand it is dishonesty. And that's the dishonesty around this conversation. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I am going to try to post a video every week, and every comment, like, subscribe, and share really helps with that. As always, stay thinking.